The moment she whispered those 5 words, my entire life tilted. I remember the way her voice trembled, barely louder than the hum of the ceiling fan above us. We were sitting on the floor of her bedroom, 2 grown women surrounded by the echoes of our childhood, when she finally said it. "I knew you were adopted." Just like that. No warning. No gentle lead-in. No chance for me to brace myself. My breath caught in my chest as if the air had turned to glass. For a moment, the world around me seemed to blur, the photos on the wall, the familiar scent of jasmine from the open window, the chipped blue paint on her dresser. Everything felt distant, unreal. I stared at her, my best friend since I was 5 years old. The girl who'd held my hand on the first day of school. The one who sneaked snacks into my backpack, who cried with me when my dog died, who slept beside me during thunderstorms. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Her fingers twisted the edge of her blanket, her lips pressed into a thin, trembling line. "How long?" I asked, though part of me already knew. She swallowed. "Since we were 12. 12. That single word sliced through me like a blade. 12 meant birthdays, school dances, sleepovers, heartbreaks, graduations, years of shared secrets and laughter and tears, built on a lie. Or at least, on her silence. My heart pounded so loudly I could hear it in my ears. I tried to form words, but my mouth felt dry, useless. She continued, her voice cracking, "I didn't know how to tell you. I thought it wasn't my place." Maybe she expected me to understand. Maybe she hoped I would forgive her immediately, like I'd always done. But something inside me shifted that day, a quiet, devastating crack that would only widen as the truth unraveled. Because if she had known, who else had known? And why was I the last to find out? People always say that the biggest moments in life arrive suddenly, like storms that roll in without warning. But looking back now, I realize the signs had been there all along, subtle and quiet, hidden beneath the comfort of routine and the certainty of childhood. Before all of this, life felt simple. Safe. Warm. I grew up in a small town where most houses had white fences and mothers who shouted their children's names at dusk. My mother, Linda, was one of those women who always smelled faintly of vanilla and laundry detergent. She hummed old songs while she cooked, her voice soft and a little off-key, but somehow comforting. Our house wasn't big, but it always felt full. Full of plants she tended meticulously, full of handmade quilts draped across couches, full of framed photos lining the hallway walls, me at various ages, smiling with missing teeth, holding participation trophies, messy hair sticking out in every direction. My father, Mark, was quieter. A tall man with broad shoulders, he often came home with grease on his hands from the auto shop he owned. He didn't talk much, but when he did, his voice carried a warmth that settled into your bones. He had a habit of placing a steady hand on my shoulder whenever he passed behind me, a silent gesture of affection. And then there was Hannah. My best friend. She lived just across the street in a brick house with a sagging front porch and a cherry tree in the yard. Her family was loud and chaotic, siblings running everywhere, arguments over homework, laughter bouncing off the walls. I spent more time there than at my own home, wrapped up in the comfortable chaos that contrasted so beautifully with the quiet of my own house. From the moment we met in kindergarten, we were inseparable. Our teacher used to joke that we were 2 peas in a pod, and it was true. Where I was cautious, she was daring. Where she was impulsive, I was thoughtful. We balanced each other effortlessly. Every morning, she'd run across the street, backpack bouncing, hair wild, and shout my name as if it were the best part of her day. "Come on. We're gonna be late." We'd walk to school, arms swinging, sharing secrets we thought were monumental, crushes, dreams, fears. She knew everything about me. Or at least, I thought she did. I assumed she told me everything too. The idea that she could hold on to something so big, so life-altering, without saying a word. I still feel the sting of that realization. Growing up, people often told me I looked nothing like my parents. I had darker hair, deeper eyes, and a sharper jawline. My mother would laugh it off, brushing her fingers gently through my hair. "Genes are funny things," she'd say. "You look like your grandmother." I never questioned it. Why would I? Children trust the world they're given. Still, there were moments, tiny, fleeting moments, when something felt off. Like the way my parents would exchange glances when someone commented on our differences. Or the way my father always stiffened when family medical histories came up. But those moments passed quickly, swallowed by the comfort of affection and routine. The first time I truly felt something strange, I was 10. I had found an old photo album in the back of my mother's closet while searching for wrapping paper. It was dusty and heavy, bound in faded brown leather. When I opened it, expecting baby pictures of myself, I found nothing. The album was filled with photos of my parents before I was born, trips, family gatherings, their wedding, but then it stopped abruptly. The last page held a single photo of my mother, looking tired but smiling weakly, holding a blanket. Just a blanket. No baby. No me. I remember running downstairs, clutching the album, excitement bubbling in my chest. "Mom. Where are my baby pictures?" She froze. Her hands, covered in flour from kneading dough, paused mid-air. For a heartbeat, her eyes flicked toward my father, who sat reading the newspaper. Then she smiled, too quickly. "Oh honey, they're in another album. That one's old." She took the album gently from my hands and placed it on the counter, her movements careful, deliberate. "I'll show you later," she said. But she never did. And I forgot about it. Or maybe I let myself forget. Because when you feel loved, truly loved, you learn to overlook the small shadows. You learn to accept the version of the story you're given. If someone had told me then that everything I believed about my life was built on secrecy, I would have laughed. My parents were loving. My childhood was happy. My best friend was loyal. Why would I ever doubt any of it? But life has a way of planting seeds long before the storm arrives. And the seed of doubt, once planted, never really disappears. It waits. Quietly. Patiently. Until the day it blooms. The weeks after Hannah's confession felt like moving through fog. Her bedroom, once a place of comfort and laughter, suddenly felt foreign. The posters on the wall, the string lights, the stuffed animals lined neatly on her shelf, everything seemed tainted by the weight of what she had said. "I knew you were adopted." The words replayed in my mind constantly, like a song stuck on repeat. At work, I'd catch myself staring at my computer screen, unable to focus. At night, I lay awake, listening to the rhythmic ticking of the old clock in the hallway. Every tick felt like a reminder of time lost, of years built on a foundation I didn't know was cracked. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe she heard something she misunderstood. Maybe it was gossip. But the way she said it. It wasn't speculation. It was certainty. And that certainty terrified me. 3 days after her confession, I drove to my parents' house. The driveway was the same gravel crunch I'd heard my entire life. The flower beds were still overflowing with marigolds, my mother's favorite. Wind chimes tinkled softly on the porch, their sound familiar and soothing. But I felt none of the comfort I usually did. Inside, the house smelled like roasted chicken and Herb's Sunday dinner. My mother stood at the stove, humming, stirring something in a pot. My father sat at the table, glasses perched on the tip of his nose as he read the paper. For a moment, I just watched them. They looked so normal. So ordinary. So sure of themselves. My mother turned, her face lighting up. "Sweetheart. I didn't know you were coming." She walked over and kissed my cheek, her hands warm. My father stood and pulled me into a brief but firm hug. And for a second, I hesitated. Could people who loved me this much really have lied to me my entire life? We sat down to eat, the clinking of silverware filling the room. My mother fussed over my plate, adding more potatoes, offering bread. I stared at her hands, steady, practiced, familiar. Mom, I said finally, my voice quieter than I intended, can I ask you something? She looked up, smiling. Of course, honey. My father's eyes lifted from his plate, focused, attentive. I opened my mouth. The words sat on the tip of my tongue. Are you hiding something from me? Was I adopted? Why didn't you tell me? But when I looked at them, at the lines around my mother's eyes, the softness in my father's gaze, fear gripped me. Fear of breaking something that had always felt whole. Fear of hearing an answer I wasn't ready for. So instead I said, do you still have my baby pictures? I'd like to see them sometime. My mother froze for just a fraction of a second. But I saw it. Her smile tightened. Of course. I just need to find the right box. I'll look for them this week. My father cleared his throat, too loudly. There was a flood in the basement years ago. We lost a lot of old things. His fork scraped harshly against his plate. My heart sank. I'd heard that excuse before. When I was 10. Suddenly, the food tasted like dust. Later that night, when I returned home, I sat in my car in the driveway, engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel. The streetlight cast a pale glow across the dashboard. My phone buzzed. A message from Hannah. Please don't hate me. I stared at the screen, my chest tight. I typed, erased, typed again. Why didn't you tell me? Her reply came quickly. It wasn't my secret to tell. Something about those words made anger flare in me, sharp and bitter. But you let me live a lie. This time, she didn't respond. The first real crack in the facade came a week later. It was a Saturday morning, cool and crisp, the kind of morning where breath hangs in the air. I had stopped by my parents' house again, this time determined to find answers. My mother was in the garden, pruning her roses, wearing her wide-brimmed straw hat. Morning, she said cheerfully, though her eyes flicked toward me nervously. I was hoping we could look for the baby pictures, I said. Her pruning shears paused mid-snip. Oh, honey. The basement is such a mess. I'll get to it soon. My stomach twisted. Let me help, I offered. She hesitated. No. But I was already heading toward the house. Her voice followed me, strained. Wait. It's really not. I didn't stop. Inside, the house was quiet. Too quiet. I walked to the basement door, hand trembling slightly as I turned the knob. The stairs creaked under my weight. The air was cool and smelled faintly of dust and old wood. Boxes were stacked neatly along the walls, labeled in my mother's handwriting. Christmas. School. Books. Photos. My heart pounded. Photos. I looked up the stairs, half expecting my mother to appear. She didn't. I reached for the box labeled photos, pulling it toward me. Dust puffed into the air. Inside were albums, wedding pictures, vacations, holidays. Then one album caught my eye. A blue leather book with a silver clasp. No label. My hand shook as I lifted it. I opened it. The first page held a birth certificate. But the name printed on it was not mine. It wasn't even close. A baby girl. Born in a different city. A different hospital. To a mother whose name I had never seen before. My breath hitched. I flipped through the pages, hospital bracelets, tiny socks, a lock of hair taped carefully to a card. This wasn't a random baby. This was someone's child. Someone who wasn't me. My vision blurred with tears as realization washed over me. There were no baby pictures of me. None. Because I hadn't been there. I wasn't part of the beginning they showed me. My hands went numb. From upstairs, I heard the basement door creak open. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. My mother's voice, shaking. Please, don't go through that. I turned, album clutched to my chest, tears streaming down my face. Who am I? The words came out broken. She stood on the steps, gripping the railing, her face pale. Honey, we were going to tell you. We just. Were you ever going to? I whispered. Silence. That silence told me everything. My chest ached, a raw, hollow pain. My mother stepped down one stair, reaching toward me. We love you. You are our daughter. Nothing changes that. But everything had already changed. Before I could respond, another voice sounded behind her. My father. Firm. Quiet. Linda. She froze. He looked at me, his eyes glistening. We need to talk. We moved to the living room, though I don't remember walking there. I only remember the numbness. My mother sat on the edge of the couch, wringing a dish towel between her hands as if she needed something to hold on to. My father stood by the window, his back to us, shoulders rigid. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the room, stretching toward me like grasping fingers. The blue album sat on the coffee table in front of me, its presence overwhelming. No one spoke. Finally, my father turned. I'm sorry, he said simply. Not an explanation. Not a denial. Just. I'm sorry. And somehow, that hurt more than anything else. I swallowed hard, my voice barely steady. Why did you lie? My mother flinched. We didn't lie. We didn't tell you. I laughed, a short, humorless sound. That's the definition of lying. Tears welled in her eyes, but I couldn't afford to feel sympathy. Not yet. My father sat down across from me, leaning forward, elbows on his knees. You were adopted, he said quietly. When you were 2 months old. 2 months. Old enough to have been held by someone else. Loved by someone else. Left by someone else. My stomach twisted. Who were my biological parents? I asked. My mother pressed the towel to her mouth, shaking her head. My father sighed, rubbing his forehead. Your birth mother was very young. 17. She couldn't take care of you. Where is she now? I pushed. We don't know, he said. She wanted a closed adoption. My mother whispered, she didn't want contact. Her words pierced me. Didn't want contact. Didn't want me. I felt something fracture inside. I forced myself to breathe. And you thought, what? That I'd never find out? My mother reached toward me. We planned to tell you when you were older. When you could understand. I pulled away. I'm 27, I said, voice rising despite myself. How much older did I need to be? My father closed his eyes, his jaw tightening. Every time we tried, it never felt like the right moment. You were happy. We didn't want to hurt you. And now? I snapped. He looked at me, pain etched deeply in his features. Now we've hurt you anyway. Silence settled again, thick and suffocating. They loved me. I knew that. I felt it in every memory, every gesture, every quiet act of care. But love wasn't the issue. Trust was. And trust, once broken, doesn't mend easily. Eventually, exhaustion pulled me to my feet. I need time, I said. My mother reached out again, her voice trembling. Please don't shut us out. But I couldn't stay. Not in that house. Not with those walls that suddenly felt unfamiliar, strange, false. As I walked out, my father whispered, "We love you more than anything." I paused at the door, my hand on the frame. I believe that, I said softly. But love shouldn't require hiding the truth. The words hung in the air as I stepped outside. When I got home, the quiet was overwhelming. I sat on the couch, staring at the wall, my mind racing. Questions swirled, messy and unanswerable. Who was I? Where did I come from? Who had held me before them? Why had I been given up? The thought that haunted me most was simple, devastating. Was I wanted? My phone buzzed. Hannah. Again. This time, I answered. Her voice was tentative. Hi. I didn't respond. She took a shaky breath. I'm so sorry. The anger that had been simmering erupted. How long have you known? I demanded. Since we were 12, she whispered. I overheard my parents talking. They said something about you being adopted, and I asked my mom. She told me it was true but that I was never to mention it. Why didn't you tell me? My voice cracked. She sobbed softly. Because I was scared. I thought, if you found out, everything would change. That you'd leave. That you'd be hurt. And I didn't want to be the one to cause that. Her fear was familiar. It echoed the same justification my parents had used. I trusted you, I said. I know, she cried. And I failed you. Her honesty softened something in me, but the wound was still raw. You weren't the one who lied to me, I said quietly. They were. But I let it happen, she whispered. I watched you wonder why you didn't look like them. I watched you ask about baby pictures. And I said nothing. Her breathing hitched. I'm so sorry. I closed my eyes, leaning back against the couch. I need space, I said finally. She let out a broken breath. Okay. Whatever you need. I'm here. When the call ended, I stared at the ceiling, letting the quiet settle. My best friend. My parents. All of them had known. All of them had decided for me. The realization felt heavy, suffocating. That night, sleep eluded me. At 2 a.m., I found myself sitting on the floor beside an old storage trunk in my own closet. I pulled it out, searching through papers, certificates, medical forms, anything that might hold a clue. And then I found it. A thin white envelope. Unlabeled. Tucked beneath old school records. Inside was a folded document. My adoption paperwork. My eyes scanned the lines, heart pounding harder with every word. Then I saw it. A name. My birth mother's name. And beneath it, a signature. But something else caught my eye. A handwritten note in the margin. Just 5 words. 5 words that made my blood run cold. She can never know him. Him? Who was him? My hands trembled as I read the sentence again. Who was this man I was never supposed to know? My father? Someone dangerous? Someone who didn't want me? Or someone who wanted me too much? Suddenly, the story I'd been told, that I was simply given up by a young girl who couldn't care for me, felt incomplete. This wasn't just about a scared teenager. There was someone else involved. Someone they were trying to hide. And my parents knew. They had to. My head spun. I grabbed my keys. At 2:30 in the morning, I found myself driving back to my parents' house, fueled by adrenaline and rage and fear. I needed answers. I deserved answers. When I reached the house, the lights were off. The neighborhood was silent. I rang the doorbell. Once. Twice. Then harder. Finally, the porch light flicked on. My father opened the door, sleep in his eyes, wearing an old t-shirt and sweatpants. Is everything okay? He murmured. I held up the paper, my hand shaking. Who is he? His face drained of color. What? He whispered. I thrust the document toward him. This note. Who is he? My mother appeared behind him, her hand covering her mouth. Tears pooled instantly in her eyes. My father swallowed, his voice rough. We hoped you'd never see that. Anger surged through me. Well, I did. He closed his eyes. Then he said the words that shattered everything I thought I knew. He's your father. I stared at him, confused. You're my father. He shook his head slowly. No, he whispered. I'm not. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The hallway seemed to tilt, the walls closing in, the air thick and heavy. My father, no, the man I had always believed was my father, stood in front of me, eyes full of regret, sorrow, something deeper I couldn't place. My voice came out hoarse, barely audible. What do you mean, you're not? He ran a shaking hand through his hair, looking older than I had ever seen him. I raised you, he said quietly. I loved you from the moment I held you. But biologically, his voice cracked. You're not mine. My knees weakened. I steadied myself against the wall. My mother stepped forward, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. Please, sweetheart. Let's sit. Let us explain. I shook my head violently. No. No more sitting. No more waiting. No more later. I want the truth. Now. My father's shoulders slumped, as if a weight he'd carried for decades had finally become unbearable. He gestured toward the living room. I hesitated, every part of me wanted to run, to flee from this collapsing reality, but I followed. I needed to know. We sat in the same room where they'd first told me I was adopted, the blue album still on the table like a ghost between us. My father took a deep breath. Your birth mother, he began slowly, choosing each word with painful care, wasn't just some girl we were connected to through an agency. My mother closed her eyes, pressing a hand to her forehead. She was someone we knew. My heart lurched. Knew how? My father looked at me, guilt etched into every line on his face. She was a friend of the family. My pulse hammered. What family? He hesitated. My mother whispered, the Harris family. For a moment, the name meant nothing. Then it hit me like a blow. Harris. Hannah's last name. I stared at them, horror creeping through me. No, I whispered. No. You can't mean. My father nodded slowly. Your birth mother was Hannah's aunt. The room spun. Hannah. Her family. Her knowing. Her silence. Pieces began locking into place in a horrifying mosaic. My voice shook. So Hannah knew because. She overheard her parents talking, my mother said, voice trembling. They knew the whole story. They were involved. My stomach churned. I felt betrayed all over again, deeper, sharper. My best friend's family had known the truth of my existence. My origins. My identity. And they had kept it hidden. All of them. For years. So who is he? I demanded, clutching the adoption paper. Who is the man I'm never supposed to know? My parents exchanged a look. A long, painful look. My father's voice dropped to a whisper. Your biological father was married. Silence. Cold. Heavy. And, he continued, voice breaking, he was the father of someone very close to you. My skin prickled. My heart pounded wildly. No, I breathed, shaking my head. No. You don't mean. My mother sobbed. It was Hannah's father. Everything inside me went still. Utterly, terrifyingly still. My throat burned, but no sound came out. My father, Mark, leaned forward, his hands clasped tightly. He had an affair, he said, voice strained. With Hannah's aunt. It was brief, but she became pregnant. She hid it at first, but eventually, the family found out. My mother wiped her eyes. His wife, Hannah's mother, refused to let the child be raised near them. She demanded secrecy. She threatened to destroy the family if anyone found out. I stared at them, numb. So they gave me away, I whispered. My mother shook her head fiercely. No. No. Your birth mother loved you. She wanted to keep you. But she was pressured from every direction. She was young. Alone. Scared. My father continued, and we couldn't have children. We were desperate. When the opportunity came, we took it. His voice broke. But the agreement was strict. No contact. No disclosure. Complete secrecy. I felt sick. My entire life, my identity, had been bartered in secrecy, shame, and family politics. And Hannah? I asked, voice trembling. She's known this whole time? My mother nodded weakly. Her parents told her when she was young. They wanted her to stay away from the subject. To never bring it up. I stood abruptly. So she wasn't just protecting me, I said bitterly. She was protecting them. Neither of them answered. Because the truth was obvious. I walked toward the doorway, needing space, needing air, needing to escape the suffocating truth pressing down on me. But before I reached the door, my father's voice stopped me. There's more. I froze. Of course there was. There always was. Slowly, I turned. My father's face crumpled. Your birth father died when you were 4. My breath caught. He never knew where you were placed, my father added. He wanted to find you. He tried. He looked for years. My mother whispered, his wife found out and stopped him. She threatened to leave, to take their children. He couldn't risk it. A sob tore from my throat. All my life, I had wondered if my biological father had wanted me. And now I knew. He had. He had searched. He had cared. And he had died without ever finding me. Grief I didn't know I could feel washed over me, grief for a man I'd never met, but who was part of me. My father, Mark, stood and stepped closer. I know I'm not your biological father, he said, voice shaking. But I chose you. I fought for you. I held you when you cried. I taught you to ride a bike. I stayed up all night when you were sick. I have loved you every day of your life. Tears blurred my vision. I know, I whispered. I know. And I did. His love was real. But love and betrayal can coexist, tangled and painful. I backed away, my voice barely steady. I need to talk to Hannah. My mother gasped. Please don't, her family. I don't care about her family, I snapped. I care that she looked me in the eye for 15 years and let me live without knowing any of this. My father reached out. She was a child too. I shook my head. She's an adult now. And she still kept it from me. Without another word, I turned and walked out. I drove straight to Hannah's house. The streetlights blurred through my tears. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Her house looked the same as always, the sagging porch, the cherry tree, the warm glow from the living room window. I marched up the steps and pounded on the door. Footsteps. The door opened. Hannah stood there, eyes red, face puffy, as if she'd been crying for hours. She opened her mouth to speak. But I didn't let her. You knew. My voice came out sharp, cutting. She flinched. I wanted to tell you. No, I snapped. You wanted to protect your family. Her chin trembled. They told me horrible things would happen if anyone found out. They made me swear. I stepped closer, my voice low and trembling. And what about me? She froze. What about what would happen to me? Tears spilled down her cheeks. I was scared, she whispered. So was I said, my voice breaking. But I was scared and alone, and you let me be. She reached out, desperate. I didn't want to lose you. I stepped back. You lost me anyway. Her face crumpled. Please, she begged, please don't walk away. My heart twisted. I loved her. But love had been weaponized too many times in this story. I don't know who I am anymore, I whispered. And you were the one person who could have helped me understand. I turned. She sobbed, please. but I kept walking down the steps. Her voice broke behind me. "I'm your cousin." I stopped dead. The night went silent. Slowly, I turned back. She stood in the doorway, shaking violently. "You're my cousin," she repeated, voice small. "We're blood." The world tilted again. Everything blurred. And then? Darkness. I don't remember driving home. I remember the steering wheel under my hands, slick with sweat. I remember the sound of my heartbeat pounding louder than the engine. And I remember one thought circling over and over like a trapped bird. She knew. Emma knew. All these years, she knew. When I pulled into my driveway, the porch light was on, casting a warm glow across the steps. My mother always turned it on for me, even now that I was grown. That tiny act of love hit me so hard I felt my knees weaken. How many other acts had been built on lies? Inside, the house smelled of cumin and toasted bread. My mother must have been cooking earlier. Normally that scent comforted me, reminded me of weekends spent kneeling on a kitchen chair while she taught me to roll dough, flour streaking her forehead like war paint. This time, it made bile rise in my throat. I stood in the kitchen doorway, watching her rinse dishes at the sink, humming softly. Her shoulders looked smaller than I remembered, fragile almost. The weight of confrontation settled like a stone in my stomach. She turned when she heard me, smiling in that warm way she always did. "There you are," she said, drying her hands. "I saved you some. Why didn't you tell me I was adopted?" The words came out flat, almost childlike. I hadn't planned to say them that way, but they spilled out before I could shape them. Her smile faltered. She froze, fingers still curled around the dish towel. Silence expanded between us, thick and suffocating, broken only by the steady trickle of the faucet. "Oh," she whispered. "Not what are you talking about?" "Not that's ridiculous." Just oh. As if she had been expecting this moment. My father stepped into the doorway behind her, his face pale, eyes wide with the kind of fear people get when the past finally catches up. My voice shook. "I found the papers. The letters. You lied to me my whole life." My mother pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. My father sank into a chair, rubbing his forehead. "We were going to tell you," he said quietly. "We always meant to. But then, time passed, and you were happy, and it never felt like the right moment." I laughed, an ugly, broken sound. There was 30 years of right moments. My mother sobbed. Not loudly, not dramatically, just soft, stifled cries that made her shoulders shake. She reached out for me, but I stepped back. "Who is she?" I asked. "My birth mother." "What happened? Why didn't she keep me?" My father closed his eyes. "She was young," he said. 17. Her parents threatened to disown her if she kept you. She didn't want to give you up, but she didn't have a choice." His voice cracked, and for the first time, I felt a sliver of something that wasn't anger. Grief, maybe. The realization that pain lived on both sides of this story. But then my mother whispered, barely audible. "It wasn't just that." My father looked sharply at her, warning flashing in his eyes. I turned to her. "What do you mean?" She sank into a chair, twisting the towel in her hands. Her voice was raw. "She came back for you. When you were 3. She asked to see you, to hold you. She wanted you back." My breath caught. "What?" My father slammed his palm on the table. "We are not doing this." My mother flinched but kept talking, tears streaming. "We said no. We told her she couldn't take you away. We told her you wouldn't remember her, that it would confuse you. We thought we were doing the right thing." My legs went numb. "She came back for me. My birth mother had wanted me. She had tried." A sob clawed its way out of my throat. I stumbled backward, gripping the counter. My father stood, his voice firm. "You are our daughter. We raised you. We loved you. We protected you. Protected me. That word burned. Protected me from what? I shouted. From knowing the truth? From knowing the woman who gave birth to me? From having a choice? My mother reached out again. Please, sweetheart. I can't do this. I grabbed my keys and walked out. The night air was cold, sharp enough to make my lungs sting. I sat in my car, shaking, the weight of everything pressing down. I picked up my phone. My thumb hovered over Emma's name. She had known. Not just that I was adopted, but about my birth mother trying to reclaim me. I replayed her expression earlier, the guilt, the fear, the way she tried to stop me from leaving. Why? Why would she hide that? I dialed. She answered on the second ring, her voice tight. Hey. Are you okay? No, I said. We need to talk. Now. There was a long silence, then a resigned sigh. Come over. Her house was quiet when I arrived, lights dim except for the living room lamp. She sat curled on the couch, blanket around her shoulders, eyes rimmed red. She had been crying. Good. I shut the door behind me. You knew. She nodded slowly. How long? Since we were 12, she whispered. 12. Middle school. Sleepovers. Pinky promises. Tears over first crushes. All of that built on a secret she kept from me. Why? My voice cracked. Why would you keep something so important from me? She stared at her hands. Because I was scared. Of what? She swallowed hard. Of losing you. I blinked. What are you talking about? She looked up, eyes filled with a pain I didn't understand. My aunt, she said. She's your birth mother. The room tilted. What? Emma nodded, tears spilling. She's my mom's younger sister. She got pregnant at 17. Her parents sent her away, forced the adoption. When she tried to get you back, my family threatened to cut her off. They said she would ruin her life, and ours. My stomach twisted. So you knew because... I grew up hearing about you, she whispered. Hearing my aunt cry about the baby she lost. And then when I met you in kindergarten and realized you were her baby. I panicked. I stared at her, heartbeat roaring in my ears. You could have told me. I know. She wiped her face. But I thought if you found her, you wouldn't need me anymore. The truth slammed into me. Her silence wasn't just loyalty to her family. It was selfishness. Possession. She didn't want to lose me. But she took away the chance for me to know where I came from. Do you know where she is now? I whispered. Emma hesitated. Then nodded. That was the moment my anger crystallized into determination. I stood. Give me her address. Emma shook her head desperately. No. Please. You don't understand. She's been through so much. Seeing you might destroy her. My voice went cold. That isn't your decision anymore. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and the taste of salt on my lips. I must have cried myself to sleep, though I didn't remember doing it. What I did remember was Emma's face when I demanded the address. Torn. Terrified. But she still gave it to me. It was scribbled on the back of a grocery receipt, the ink smudged where her tears had fallen. I stared at that crumpled paper in the morning light, my fingers trembling. Was I really going to do this? My parents' voices echoed in my mind. My mother's sobs. My father's angry insistence that they had protected me. But there was another voice, smaller, softer. The voice of a 3-year-old child reaching out for someone she didn't remember. And the voice of a 17-year-old girl forced to give her baby away. I dressed quickly, grabbing a sweater and tying my hair back. My reflection in the mirror looked unfamiliar, eyes swollen, jaw clenched, determination burning where confusion once lived. As I reached for my keys, my phone buzzed. A text from my cousin, Leah. What's going on? Everyone's talking. Call me. My stomach dropped. Everyone? I opened social media. My heart sank. There it was. A post from someone I barely knew from high school. Did anyone else know she was adopted? And her best friend knew the whole time? Wild. Over 100 comments. My hands shook as I scrolled. Some were sympathetic. Some were cruel. Some speculated. Some accused. My private heartbreak had become public entertainment. How did this spread so fast? Then I saw it. A comment that made everything click. Ask Emma. She told me years ago but swore me to secrecy. My breath caught. Emma. She didn't just keep my secret. She shared it with others. The betrayal deepened, sour and heavy in my chest. I threw my phone onto the couch, rage rising. I couldn't stay here. Not trapped in whispers. Not drowning in other people's versions of my life. I grabbed my keys and walked out. The address led me to a small house on the edge of town, tucked behind an overgrown hedge. The paint was faded, the porch sagging slightly. Wind chimes tinkled softly in the breeze, a delicate, melancholic sound. My heart hammered. I stood at the bottom of the steps, suddenly unable to move. What if she didn't want to see me? What if she regretted coming back? What if she had built a new life, one where I didn't fit? The door opened before I could knock. A woman stepped out, holding a mug of coffee. Her hair, streaked with gray, was pulled into a messy bun. She wore a worn sweater and loose jeans. There were lines around her eyes, lines carved by laughter or sorrow, I couldn't tell. She froze when she saw me. The mug slipped from her hands, hitting the porch and shattering, coffee splashing across the wood. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Oh my God," she whispered. Her voice trembled, cracking on the last word. I couldn't speak. She closed the distance between us in 3 steps, stopping just short of touching me, as if afraid I might disappear. Her eyes, hazel, warm, familiar in a way that made my throat close, filled with tears. "It's you," she breathed. "It's really you." Something inside me broke wide open. "Are you?" My voice shook. "Are you my mother?" She let out a sob, raw, aching, and nodded. "Always," she whispered. "I have always been your mother." She reached out, slowly, giving me space to pull away. I didn't. Her arms wrapped around me, trembling, careful, like she was afraid she might crush me. I felt her shoulders shake as she cried into my hair. For a moment, I let myself sink into the warmth, the strange familiarity of her embrace. It felt like stepping into a memory I never had. We sat at her kitchen table, the scent of coffee and vanilla candles filling the air. The space was cozy, cluttered with photos and drawings. Photos of children. My stomach twisted. "Are those?" She followed my gaze and smiled weakly. "My nephews and nieces," she said. "I never had more children." My chest tightened. "Why?" Her eyes softened. "Because I never healed from losing you." Silence settled between us, heavy and full. "I tried," she whispered. "I tried to get you back. I went to your parents' house. I begged. But they said I wasn't stable, that I couldn't provide. My family cut me off when I refused to let you go." She wiped her cheeks. "I lost you, and then I lost them. Everything." A tear slipped down my cheek. "I didn't know," I whispered. "I know," she said. "You weren't supposed to." A sudden loud knock rattled the front door. She stiffened. I frowned. Another knock, harder this time. She stood slowly, dread filling her eyes. I followed her to the door. She opened it just a crack. My father's voice boomed through the gap. "Let us in." My heart lurched. My parents were on the porch, faces flushed, my father with anger, my mother with panic. "What are you doing here?" I whispered. My father pushed the door wider. We're taking you home. He tried to grab my arm. I pulled back. No. His eyes blazed. You don't understand what she's done. She ruined lives. My birth mother stepped forward, voice shaking but firm. I loved her. I wanted her. You stole her from me. My father rounded on her. You were a child. You couldn't raise a baby. We saved her. Saved. That word again. Something inside me snapped. You didn't save me, I said, voice low. You stole my choice. You stole her chance. My mother sobbed, reaching for me. We loved you. We gave you everything. And I loved you, I whispered. But love built on lies still breaks. Neighbors appeared on porches, watching. Whispers drifted across the street. My father noticed the eyes on him and stepped back, jaw tight. He hated scenes. Hated judgment. My mother looked destroyed. I'm begging you, she whispered. Come home. I shook my head. Not today. My father glared at my birth mother one last time, then turned and walked away. My mother followed, looking back at me with a grief that twisted my heart. The door closed. Silence returned. My birth mother leaned against the wall, breathing shakily. I felt the weight of the moment settle. Everything was out now. Everyone knew. There was no going back to before. She looked at me, eyes full of fear and hope. Are you staying? She whispered. I swallowed. I don't know. I don't know. Those 3 words hung in the air like dust in sunlight, soft, suspended, impossible to ignore. My birth mother nodded slowly, as if she expected nothing more from me. She stepped back, giving me space, her hands twisting together nervously. Can I make you some tea? She whispered. It was such a simple offer. Ordinary. Human. After everything that had exploded around us, tea felt like a lifeline. I nodded. She moved around the kitchen quietly, opening cabinets, filling a kettle, lighting the stove. Her movements were careful, almost reverent, as though she was afraid that making noise might scare me away. I sat at the table, watching steam rise, hearing the faint ticking of a wall clock. Every second felt amplified. She set a mug in front of me, chamomile, with honey. The same tea my mother used to make when I was sick. The taste hit me like a memory I'd never had. She noticed my expression and smiled faintly. It was the only thing that helped with morning sickness, she said. I drank it every day when I was pregnant with you. My chest tightened. A strange warmth mingled with grief. There was a history in this house that belonged to me, one I had never lived. We talked for hours. Not about the dramatic things, not at first. We talked about favorite books. Foods we hated. The way we both curled our toes when we were nervous. The tiny birthmark under my left shoulder blade that she remembered from the day I was born. Every small detail felt like stitching being pulled through cloth, connecting 2 pieces that had been torn apart. But eventually, the heavier truth surfaced. I didn't fight enough, she whispered, staring into her mug. I let people make decisions for me. I let fear win. Her voice cracked. I spent years believing I didn't deserve you. I reached across the table, my fingers brushing hers. I don't blame you, I said softly. You were a kid. You were trapped. Her eyes filled again. I should have told you when you were older. I should have written. I should have. She shook her head. There were so many shoulds. I swallowed. Me too. She looked up, surprised. I should have asked more. I think deep down I always knew something didn't quite fit. I just didn't want to lose the life I had. Her eyes softened. Loving them doesn't mean you can't love me. I let those words settle. Because somewhere inside, I had believed exactly that acknowledging her meant betraying my parents. That the love I had was limited, something that had to be divided. But maybe it wasn't. Later, she pulled out a small box from a bedroom drawer. I kept these for you. Inside were photographs, faded, curled at the edges. The first was of her, pregnant, standing barefoot in a backyard, sunlight glowing on her belly. She looked young, hopeful, afraid, but smiling. Another showed a hospital room. Her holding a tiny bundle. Eyes red from crying, but her face pressed to my forehead. My throat tightened. Then she handed me a sealed envelope. I wrote this when you were a week old, she said. I wanted you to have it someday, when you were old enough to understand. But I never got the chance. My hand shook as I opened it. The letter was handwritten, ink smudged in places where tears had fallen. My sweet girl. I don't know where life will take you, but I hope you always know that I loved you first. I hope you grow up feeling safe and cherished. If you ever wonder why I let you go, please know it wasn't because I didn't want you. It was because I wanted you to have more than I could give. By the end, the words blurred through my tears. I pressed the paper to my chest, breathing shakily. She watched me silently, her own tears falling. We sat like that for a long time. Two women, bound by blood and loss and love. In the late afternoon, I stepped outside for air. The sun was setting, painting the sky in soft pinks and purples. The quiet felt different now, less suffocating, more peaceful. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother. Please come home. We want to talk. We're so sorry. Another from my father. We love you. We thought we were doing what was best. We need to explain. I stared at the screen, heart twisting. They were hurting. They were scared. But they were reaching out. Behind me, the door creaked open. My birth mother leaned against the frame. You should go, she said gently. They're still your parents. The way she said it, not resentful, not bitter, told me everything about the kind of love she carried. I'll come back, I whispered. Her face lit with a hope so fragile it made my chest ache. I would like that, she said. When I arrived home, my parents were waiting in the living room. My mother rushed toward me, stopping short when she saw my expression, unsure of her place. My father stood stiffly, hands clenched, eyes red. I sat down. They sat too. For the first time, no one spoke defensively. No one shouted. No one blamed. They told me their side, fear, pressure, the terror of losing a child they already loved. The belief that keeping the past buried would protect us all. My mother reached for my hand. We were wrong, she whispered. We made that choice for you, and we shouldn't have. My father's voice cracked. We're scared you'll leave us. I squeezed their hands. I'm not choosing one family over the other, I said softly. I'm choosing truth. I'm choosing all of us. My mother broke into sobs and held me. This time, I let her. And for the first time since everything unraveled, I felt something loosen in my chest. Not forgiveness, not fully. But the beginning of it. A bridge being built, slowly, carefully, plank by plank. That night, lying in my room, I realized something. My identity wasn't a single story. It wasn't one mother or the other. It was both. Love wasn't limited. It could stretch. It could grow. And maybe, just maybe, it could heal. Sitting here, writing this, I still feel the weight of everything that happened, the betrayals, the secrets, the lies, and the heartbreak. But I also feel something else now, a fragile, quiet hope. Life doesn't always give us neat resolutions. People make mistakes. Families make choices they believe are right, even when they hurt the ones they love. But there is power in facing the truth, even when it shakes you to your core. There is healing in seeing the whole story, and even in betrayal, there can be understanding. I still remember the first time I held my birth mother's hand, and the soft tremble in her fingers mirrored the tremble in mine. I remember the tears, the laughter, and the awkward silences as we navigated a connection decades delayed. And I remember looking at Emma, my childhood best friend, and realizing that her fear had kept her from telling me the truth, but it hadn't ended our bond entirely. This story isn't just about me. It's about all of us who have been hurt by secrets, by silence, or by love gone wrong. It's about forgiveness, not forgetting, but finding peace with the past. It's about reclaiming your story, no matter how complicated it is, and realizing that love can be bigger than mistakes. I want to leave you with this question: if you discovered a truth that changed everything about your family, could you find the strength to forgive? Could you embrace the people who hurt you, and still make space for your own healing? If my story moved you, if it reminded you of the fragile, messy, beautiful nature of family and friendship, please consider subscribing to my channel. There are more stories like this, stories of heartbreak, betrayal, and ultimately, hope. And if you've experienced something similar, share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters, and you're not alone.